Hi, I'm Lisa from Teach Mom Learn, and today we're talking about 10 easy ways to bake with your 1-year-old. I don't know about you, but I love baking, and so this is one of those things that I was so excited to share with my daughter. Now that she's old enough, we bake all the time. So today, we're going to make some blueberry muffins, and I'm going to go over some ways that you can make... Ouch. This is Rosie. Rosie decided to join me during filming today by trying to eat my ankle. Today, I'm going to go over 10 easy ways that you can share your favorite hobby with your 1-year-old because it's never too young to start baking. Tip number 1 is to choose your recipe wisely. You want something that says easy right in the name. You want something that they're going to love to eat, something that can be assembled very quickly because I would say the attention span is going to be about 10 minutes or less. Look for something with lots of toddler-safe ingredients and fun textures for them to experiment with. The recipes that I've found best are baking and something cold. Stovetop cooking is much too challenging because it's so dangerous for your child to be around. Baked foods work well because they can mix all the ingredients together and then push the buttons on the oven. We all know how much toddlers love pushing buttons. Cold recipes like smoothies also work well, but just make sure that your child isn't afraid of the blender. Mine is, so we don't do a lot of cold recipes in our house. Today's recipe is called Quick and Easy Blueberry Muffins. It's from inspiredtaste.net, and we're excited to try it. Tip number 2 is to break the recipe down and set everything up in advance. I don't know if you ever took home ec, but I remember in middle school, my home ec teacher would have us go through the recipe, label each step by person, decide what everybody was doing ahead of time, and make sure that all the materials were set up and ready to go before cooking time. That is exactly what I do with my toddler. I print out the recipe, I annotate it, I measure all the ingredients I can ahead of time. I pick out the ingredients that I'll be responsible for, especially things like eggs and flour are definitely on my list. And then I pick out the ingredients that would work well for Ray. The next step is to review the steps of the recipe. Make sure that you know ahead of time what your child will be doing and what you will be responsible for. So this is just an example of how I mark up the recipes. I'm a teacher, so I love using highlighter. You can see the ingredients that Ray will be responsible for and the steps that we'll each do. Prepare everything you possibly can in advance. Pre-measure ingredients, get the bowls out and ready, set up a cooking station that works well for you and your 1-year-old. Personally, I like to use our dining room table because then Ray can sit in her high chair, which means that she'll actually stay in one place for more than 2 seconds, and I have a nice work surface. So here's our cooking station for today. Our pan is set, our measuring cups are out, everything's pre-measured, and the supplies and some yogurt are ready to go. Tip number 3 is to expect a mess. Anyone who has a toddler knows that your entire house is messy all the time. No matter how perfectly you think you've prepared for your cooking adventure, your house will be a mess by the time it's done. Accepting this ahead of time will keep you more in the moment and prevent you from getting frazzled when there's flour everywhere. It helps to dress your child for what you're cooking. My mom used to do this when we were kids, and it's definitely something I've carried forward in my own life. If it's warm enough, just strip your child to their diaper and let them cook with you. Putting them in an impromptu bath while your cookies are baking is so much easier than trying to get dough out of clothes because you will be amazed at how much it gets mashed into the fabric. If it's cold, make sure you dress your child in whatever ingredient will stain. If you're making something with raspberries, go with pink. If you're having tomato sauce, go with red. Know that everything within a 10-foot radius of your cooking station will likely end up covered with something, and have the baby wipes ready to go. Tip number 4 is to use an enormous bowl. Your 1-year-old is still working on developing their motor skills, so giving them a giant bowl will make it much easier for them to dump ingredients without missing the target. Also, because they love to play with everything you're making, it's harder for them to lift their tiny little arms out and fling ingredients and make a mess. Tip number 5 is to expect your child to taste everything. Because of this, you have to be very careful of what ingredients you let them near. Your 1-year-old is curious about everything, especially new foods and textures. When they see something new, they need to examine it carefully in their little hands, and they'll usually taste it and smell it. Doesn't matter if it's food, a cat toy they found on the ground, or a leaf in the backyard. I like to let Ray smell extracts and spices every time we cook, and she gets so excited about it. She smells and tastes every item I let her touch, including the butter sometimes, which we're working on. For the ingredients they're really going to love, like chocolate chips and blueberries, make sure that you have extra. You don't want to have to take it away from them. Tip number 6 is to use freezer bags for mixing. When we were kids, my mom would take all the ingredients for apple crisp or cupcakes or whatever we were making that week and dump them into a freezer bag. Then my brother and I could have fun squeezing and mixing the ingredients, and there would be no mess and no contamination. It was the perfect strategy and one that I've used in my classroom, when I taught preschool, and now in my own home with Ray. It helps to double the freezer bags because sometimes enthusiastic little hands will burst them open, so make sure that you have plenty of thick freezer bags on hand. Tip number 7 is to let them push all the buttons. Toddlers love helping and they love pushing buttons. When the time comes to set the oven, let them do it. They also love opening and closing things. Let them help you gather ingredients out of the cabinet. Let them open and close the microwave door and to push all the buttons. When the time comes to put the food in the oven, make sure they're safely out of the kitchen when the oven door is open. But as soon as it's safe, let them in and pick them up while they push all the buttons on the oven to make sure that it's cooked right. Just be sure to add in some extra time because once they start opening and closing doors and pushing buttons, they're going to want to do it over and over again. Our stove buttons are too far under the microwave, so Ray likes to push the microwave buttons. Tip number 8 is to take pictures and document progress. These experiences are definitely something that you're going to want to look back on. So when you're cooking with your little one, have your significant other take pictures of the two of you working together. Or if you're by yourself, make sure you get some video of them dumping ingredients into the bowl or playing with the ingredients. They're going to want to look back on these memories, and you will too. Tip number 9 is to let them help you clean up. Your 1-year-old wants to help you with everything these days, and that includes cleaning. Plus, cleaning is a great way to work on gross motor skills, problem solving, and receptive language. So it's a win-win for everybody. Children quickly learn and generalize common cleaning words. And once you teach your child how to clean up a mess, they'll surprise you by cleaning up on their own and initiating it themselves. This is also a great way to teach responsibility because your child will learn that when they make a mess, it's their job to help clean it up. That's a message they'll take with them their whole lives. Just make sure you praise all their hard work when they're done. My last tip for baking with a 1-year-old is to have only one expectation for this experience: fun. Toddlers have minds of their own, so no matter what your plans are, when the time comes to bake together, they may have other plans. I know when we made banana bread for our blog post, Ray focused for about 2 minutes and then she was running all over my house, covered in flour. But she had fun and so did I. A typical cooking adventure with Ray includes multiple diaper changes, chasing her around the house, cleaning up ingredients everywhere, moving our cat so that she doesn't try to eat the butter out of the bowl. It is a mess, and you know what? I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way because Ray's happy, I'm having fun, and we're making great memories together. Just go into your baking project knowing that yes, things are going to be messy, nothing's going to go the way you planned it, but you're going to have a great time making memories with your little one. So Ray lost interest pretty quick, so I'm just finishing it up, but I know she'll be happy to eat it later. What do you think? Yeah! Do you want a muffin? Yeah! Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, feel free to click subscribe and see you next week.